folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, it is time to talk about Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Woohoo! A really awesome novel from Banta that created a lot of short stories based around the bounty hunters that we saw from Empire Strikes Back. This was an incredibly good idea. It was all edited by Kevin J. Anderson, but I'm not going to talk about his short story. And basically these are, when I say short story, these are a lot longer. There's not as many stories. There's basically ones based off all the bounty hunters that you saw in the movie. And so for that reason, these stories were actually a little bit longer than usual, but they were really good. So the first one I want to talk about is called the Prize Pelt. It's the tale of Bosk, the reptilian bounty hunter. Now this one was written by Kathy Tyers. And in this one, of course, Bosk, as you know, it all starts off this way. They're all, from Empire, meeting up with Vader, and then going off to try to find Han Solo. Now, we know how this ends, right? Only Fett is the one who can capture him. But what did the other bounty hunters do? Well, Bosk got a bad tip, which we find out is on purpose, and he goes in a different direction, only to find out it's a trap. Now, I don't want to spoil too much about this short story because I do think it's fantastic. I love Kathy Tyers. I think she has such an interesting take on characters and scenarios and different storylines and different ideas. And she made Bosk really cool, a really interesting character. And it takes a very talented author to take a character that, is just a one-off in a movie and make him really interesting. So Kathy Tyers' imagination is really fantastic. And I basically, glowed every time I've talked about one of her short stories. But it seems like every time she comes up with a neat and unique idea, I should say, about what could happen. It's not just your base everyday, like if I was writing these stories, what happened to Bosk? Well, he flew around in space for a few weeks, then heard Fett, caught Solo, and gave up and moved on. That's all I got. But no, Kathy Tyers really comes up with a creative story, and it is really, really good. The next one is called Of Possible Futures, and it's starring Forlom and Zuckuss. It's written by Shane Bell. And basically, they are on the hunt for Solo, and what they think is maybe they will befriend the Alliance, and the Alliance will lead them to Solo. Now, in Episode 7, this would kind of work, right? Because you'd have a soldier that defected right then and there, and just an hour or so later, they bring him straight to the leader of the Alliance, or the Rebellion, or whatever, the Resistance. What? Okay, so it's not really an Episode 7 movie, so Forlom and Zuckuss have a different path, and basically end up joining the Rebellion. Now, these two characters, first off, I need to say, Zuckuss was, when we were kids, my little brother had a Zuckuss action figure, and he loved him. I had a Forlom action figure, and I loved him. Did we have Boba Fett? Yes, we did. But he wasn't as cool, in our opinion, as Zuckuss and Forlom. Forlom, for me, was always the coolest villain. I thought he was bigger and badder than Boba Fett. As a kid, I thought that. And I remember one of my buddies, Dwayne, loved Bosk. He thought Bosk was the biggest, baddest, because he was a reptile. He looked evil, like an evil dinosaur. Man, he looked like the baddest. So not all of us back in the day grew up saying Fett is the best. So I was super excited to hear about Forlom. Now, he wasn't as menacing and cutthroat as I had hoped to be, and his story was okay. It makes sense. It makes sense. Zuckuss is a little weird. He has visions of the future. Is he a little force sensitive? Yes. His character's kind of interesting too, but these two characters really don't get much love outside of this short story. Bosk will have several stories told about him. Of course, Dengar gets a lot of interesting stuff, so does IG-88. But it seems like with Zuckuss and Forlom, they just let this short story be it for them. Now, that's not all. I mean, I'm sure they were featured in little things that I haven't thought about or come across yet. But this was their basically moment to shine, and that was it, which I thought they really had an interesting storyline, and I wanted to hear more about them, but we never did. sadly. So overall, what do I think about this story? I think it's good. I think it's fantastic. I like Tales of the Bounty Hunters in general, but these two stories are definitely worth your time. All right, folks, that's it. That's all I have for now. See you next time with another video.